He had done this more times than he could count. In and out. No names, no stories, no guilt. That was the rule. The kind of rule that kept a man like him alive. Kill clean, leave no trace. But something about this job felt different before it even began. Maybe it was the silence of the dusty fields. Maybe it was the way the wind moved through the broken fence of the old ranch house. Or maybe it was something deeper he didn't want to admit, something he hadn't felt in years. The farmhouse stood at the edge of nowhere, leaning like it had given up a long time ago. Inside, the scent of old wood, tea, and loneliness hung in the air. He pushed the door open slowly, his boots pressing into the creaking floor. The target was supposed to be alone, unaware, unarmed. That was the job. But when he stepped into the kitchen, she was already there, sitting at the table, a chipped mug of tea between her hands. She didn't scream. She didn't even blink. She just looked at him. Her name was Eva. He didn't ask for it, but she said it anyway, like she knew this might be the last time someone said her name out loud. Her voice was soft, trembling only slightly. She had tired eyes, the kind that had seen too much for one lifetime. Her hair was pulled back in a loose braid, and her hands, though small and delicate, had the faint marks of work, of survival. She didn't plead. She didn't run. She simply looked at him and said, "You don't have to do this." He raised the gun. Her shoulders stiffened but her gaze didn't break. "I know why you're here," she said. "Someone wants me gone. Maybe they think I know too much, or maybe I was just with the wrong man. I don't know anymore. I don't care. But I know you weren't born with that gun in your hand. I can see it in your face. You weren't always like this." He said nothing. He never did. Talking gave people room to feel things, to think. And thinking was dangerous. "I used to be scared of dying," she continued. "But I'm not anymore. I've already died a little, every day, for the past 2 years. The man I loved turned into someone I couldn't recognize. He took everything from me. My family. My peace. Even my hope. But I stayed. Because I thought maybe I could fix him. Or maybe I didn't think I deserved better." The gun didn't waver, but his grip on it wasn't as sure as it had been. "I didn't call the police. I didn't run. I just waited. For someone like you to come along and finish the story. But now that you're here, standing in front of me, I have to ask. Can you really pull the trigger knowing I've already lost everything but my breath?" The silence between them was thick, the kind that stretched across a lifetime of pain. He had been taught to ignore that silence. But now it clung to him, like her words had found cracks in the armor he had spent years building. She stood slowly, her hands trembling as she placed the tea down. "You can kill me. I won't fight. I've got no strength left to fight. But if there's even a sliver of the man you used to be still alive inside you, let me say one thing." He didn't speak. But he didn't stop her either. "You don't have to die alone either," she whispered. Those words hit harder than any bullet ever could. For a moment, the room was not a farmhouse. It was his childhood home, the night it burned to the ground. It was the hospital room where no one came to visit. It was the desert, the alleys, the cheap motels. Every place where he had been invisible. Every face he had buried in silence. He had built a life on being untouchable, on pretending he didn't need anyone. But her words cut through all of that. "You've been carrying this for too long," she said. "This weight. This anger. Whatever they did to you, whoever broke you, they don't own you anymore. You don't have to keep running. You don't have to keep killing to prove you're strong. Mercy isn't weakness. Letting someone live, letting yourself live, is the hardest thing in the world." His hand lowered slowly, the gun falling to his side. It felt heavier than ever. His chest rose and fell, breath catching in his throat. Eva didn't move. She just stood there, watching him, not with fear, but something else, something closer to compassion. He turned and walked out the door. Days passed. Then weeks. The silence of the ranch returned, but Eva never forgot his face. The way his eyes looked just before he left. The way something inside him had crumbled and rebuilt itself in a single moment. She didn't know if she would ever see him again. But one morning, as the sun rose over the hills, she heard the low rumble of a truck on the dirt road. A cloud of dust rose behind it. She stepped outside and saw him. He looked different, still hard around the edges, but less like a shadow and more like a man learning how to breathe again. In the bed of the truck were tools. A sack of groceries. A second chance. He stepped out and nodded. "Thought I could help with the roof," he said quietly. She smiled. Not a dramatic smile, but a real one. The kind she hadn't worn in a long time. "It's about time," she replied. They didn't speak much that first day. He worked, she cooked, and the quiet between them felt warm, not empty. He started showing up more often. Fixing broken things around the ranch. Feeding the chickens. Sitting on the porch in the evenings without saying a word. And in those silences, something began to grow. He never told her his real name. She never asked. What mattered was that he had chosen to stay. To try. To live. Slowly, the lines around his eyes softened. His hands stopped shaking. He smiled once, at a joke she made about the cows being better company than most people. She laughed more. She planted flowers near the windows. She started writing again in the notebook she had kept hidden for years. They never talked about the day he came to kill her. But it lived in the quiet understanding between them. That mercy had saved them both. That broken people can still build something beautiful if they choose to put the past down long enough to start again. He never took another job. She never looked over her shoulder again. In the end, the story wasn't about a killer who found a victim. It was about a man who found his humanity. About a woman who found her voice in the face of death. And about two souls who reminded each other that even the most shattered lives can still hold light. Sometimes, it only takes one moment. One word. One act of mercy.